Hello there. So I'm really excited about this video because I have finally amassed enough equipment to go backpacking. Um, when I started this channel, I started with an introductory video saying this channel was going to be about car camping and backpacking, and I was already doing car camping, so that was up and running. Um, but the backpacking, I was still getting the equipment together because I was starting from scratch. I had lots of camping equipment for camping, but none of it was transferable to backpacking because it was all for camping with the family at campsites, and I didn't have to worry about size and weight and so on. So I had to start from scratch. I said I was going to do a video about car camping setup before I started putting car camping videos on, which I did. And I said I was going to put a video on equipment that I've got so far for backpacking because I couldn't actually do it, but I was in the middle of collecting it. I did that video. It looked pathetic because I hardly had anything on there, so I deleted it. But now I finally have everything I need and I'm finally ready to go. There probably some other things I'd like, but that's another story. I am actually got enough to be ready to go, and that's the main thing. That leads me to being slightly disheartened with trying to find help on YouTube with collecting equipment. There seems to be a lot of people saying equipment on a budget, cheap gear, and I was looking for and all these titles to try and help me. It seems very money orientated, just a flashy title, look at how much I can save you. But when I'm watching the videos, certain ones where they go to a supermarket, say, look, I did this for, I can't remember what it was, like 150 whatever, and I look at the equipment and say, well, none of that is usable for backpacking, or most of it isn't. Or another video, I'm like, that's not enough to go backpacking. Or if you use that sleeping bag you found really cheap in the winter, you're going to get hypothermia. It's no good. You know what I mean? And there was nothing on there that was really helpful. It all seems to be about just sort of being able to say on your title, oh, look how much money I can save. And I found it very misleading. But this, from a person who is starting from scratch, is trying to get everything on a budget because I don't have a lot of money. I've had to go through my loft looking for stuff to sell, doing car boots, and to try and get up the money to do this, because I need to, because these people are buying this stuff and you don't see it on any other videos. So if it's so good, why aren't you using it? This is stuff that I'm buying because I need to use it and I need to be safe and warm in the winter, for example. And so this video is a genuine video about equipment that I'm going to use, that I've tried to do on a budget. I'm definitely not saying it's the cheapest, but that's the point. If you buy the cheapest, it probably isn't any good. If you buy a cheap sleeping bag, it's not going to keep you warm because it's cheap, and that's just a fact. That's the way it is. They're probably, you can buy any sleeping bag for summer, but it's not going to keep you warm in the winter. And cheap tents from supermarkets that, you know, you fart and they're going to blow away. You know, they're no good for backpacking. So I'm not saying this is the cheapest show of my equipment, but I'm saying it's the cheapest I can find that is usable equipment, that is serious equipment to go camping in. So that's what this video is about. It's not a review. I'll probably talk a little bit quickly about everything I've got, but it's just showing you what I've got so far, what I'm going to go with. I've itemized some things, other things I forgot or just didn't think it was that important, like toothpaste. You know where to get toothpaste from. I'm not going to itemize that. And other things that I think, like, you know, maybe you've already got them or you don't need them or it's not necessity. So I've itemized a lot of it, and I've got a total at the end for a winter setup and a summer setup. If you can, because everyone has different ways of camping. You can get 5 people all going to the same place for the same amount of time, and they'll all have different equipment. So a lot of it is subject to my own taste my own preferences. So you may want to sit there with a calculator yourself and go, well, I'm going to take that off because I don't want that, or actually that's really useful, I'm going to hate that. So and stuff that I will mention as I go through it that I haven't itemized for various reasons that you may decide you want to add on. So the end title probably won't match up exactly with every bit of equipment I'm showing you, but it certainly gives you a ballpark figure, and I will tell you about most of it, and certainly the most important stuff, where I got it from and stuff. So without further ado, let's do it. Just like I'm gonna have to cut my head off, because with the top of my head off, because if I go higher for my head, I'm not happy with not being able to see what's going on over here. But it's not very interesting top of my head, so you can live with that. I'm going to start with the bum bag. I want a pocket in front of me that isn't in the bag, so there's stuff that's accessible, so I don't have to keep taking my backpack off every 2 minutes. And what that would be is a power bank, just because I want to keep the electricals on me. Could go in there. I'll show you that in later videos. It's just a power bank. But I also want, I'm going to have my phone and my tripod in there, which I'm using. Obviously, while I'm on the walk, I'll probably want to keep getting them out, putting them away again, without having to keep taking my bag off. So I want accessibility. Also, it's quite common for me to turn up in the dark because it's late, because for various reasons, work and family commitments. That's when I'm car camping, which is not such a biggie, but when I'm trying to set up a tent, I want to be able to see what I'm doing, and I don't want to have to rummage in the bag in the dark. So I'm going to want to keep in here also a head torch. I bought that from a shop called OJ's. I don't think that's going to mean anything to anyone else, and it was probably about 6 or 7 years ago. I can't tell you what it is, but there's millions of them. They're everywhere, and they range from cheap to expensive. So a head torch, and what I call my stealth torch. I've had this a long time as well. I bought it from UK Preppers. I think it was under a £5. It's not particularly bright. You can sort of hang it here as well, which is quite handy. It's not particularly bright, but it's a brilliant stealth torch because it's very weak. Look at that, look, it's very weak, but when it's pitch black, it's enough to see what you're doing. What I like about it is it has a Morse code thing on it, so you can and what I like about that is when you're talking stealth, true stealth, you've got to have a light to see what you're doing, but you need to minimize the amount of time it's on if you don't want anyone to see you there. So you don't want it bright and you don't want it on for long. And what I like about the Morse code is I can just press the button to see what I'm doing and then turn it off. It's like the battery might be going. So you just go, see what I'm doing, and then I can just let go. I don't have to keep flipping the switch on, off, on, off, on. I can just do that, off, see what I'm doing there, off. And that's why I like this torch. So that will go in my pouch. That's the pouch entry. Off the top of my head, that's all I can think we're using it for. So right, that's that bit out of the way. I didn't itemize any of that because I've forgotten the price of this, and power bank is your choice, what your type of power bank you want, and they range from cheap to expensive. How can I tell you what to get and how much? Yeah, that's your call, even if you bother bringing one. Must be said, I'm only going for one night, so there's a lot of stuff here you might be thinking, why hasn't he bought that? Why hasn't he bought this? Why hasn't he brought that? But I'm only going for one night, so there will be stuff there that I personally don't think you need, because it doesn't matter, I'm going back tomorrow. Probably like a change of clothes. I don't bother bringing a change of clothes because if I've got waterproofs, I can take off anything I get wet, and I don't mind putting it back on wet because I'm just going home and I'm never far. I can't travel far to do these things at the moment. I'll be local, and I'm quite happy to go home wet because I haven't got to sit there for 3 days like halfway up a mountain. So there's no change of clothes in here, and there'd be other things that probably you're thinking, why hasn't he got that? And it might be related to, I'm only talking one night stay. Right, so this probably could have got squeezed inside if I really wanted to. There's a fair bit of, doesn't look like it, but there is a fair bit of weight left, and if I could squeeze the other stuff, I could probably get that in. But so as not to have to squish it, I've just stuck this onto the top. It's quite light. This is not a necessity. It's It's a camouflage netting. This is because I am solely focused on stealth at the moment because I can't travel to places that are legal. Of course, I'm not going to do anything illegal. So I feel this is not a necessity, but I feel it's a useful tool, and it's light. There's no extra real weight to it. It's I think it's 2 by 3 meters. I got it from Amazon at £18.35. I've taken it out and had a look at it. I've not actually used it yet because I've not been stealth camping, but it looks good, and I shall either drape that over the tent or I shall hang it up like a tennis court net to cover it, or something like that. Not a necessity, but I'm bringing it with me. And then we go down to the tent because I'll start on the outside and work in. Now that's going to fall over because that was what was holding it up. I'll let it fall over. So, OEX Fox 1. Again, I was thinking I can only add money for one tent and a limited budget. It'd be nice to have a tent for every occasion, but I figured I'd concentrate on stealth for the tent, because stealth you can use anywhere, but if I bought a big tent it might not necessarily be useful for anywhere else, like stealthy, because it'd be too big or bright coloured or whatever. So I went with stealth. £49 plus and change, can't remember, from Go Outdoors. That's not reduced price, that's how much it's always been. I love it. It's low pro, it's this colour, green, so it's fairly stealth looking. It's really low profile, has a small footprint. That also makes it sturdy. There is issues with it, like an unbelievably small vestibule and stuff, but it's what I call a serious backpacking tent for a reasonable price. It's like aluminium poles, 5,000 hydrostatic head. That I consider that not a Wendy house tent. I consider that a proper camping tent, and that's a very reasonable price in my opinion. But oh yeah, and the top. I haven't added this to the total price because again with waterproofs, I've got waterproofs in the pocket. With waterproofs, I can't tell you to buy this type of waterproofs or that type, because there's so many different types available at so many different prices. So I haven't stuck it on there. That's something you need to add yourself, I think. I've got a pair of gloves in there. They're not particularly warm. They're fairly warm, but they're not winter warm. I have another pair of gloves which I forgot to bring me, that mitts that I put over the top of them, so that when I take my gloves off, my mitts off, I can do something. These are quite dexterous. They allow you to use your phone. They're quite thin, but they're quite strong. They have knuckles, protective sort of armour on the knuckles. They're good doing gloves, and I put a pair of mitts over the top. Keeps me super warm, and then when I can take the mitts off and I'm not exposing my hands directly to the cold, I've still got those on and I'm still quite dexterous with them on, and then I can put them up. So I forgot the mitts. I've had them for donkey's years anyway, so I haven't priced them up because I've no idea, and I think I got them in a stocking for Christmas a few years ago. So again, I haven't priced them up. This I have, as I said, the waterproofs I haven't added to the price. I will tell you the price, but they're not on the total price. I got them from Military Kit. They're £20, which is an amazing price, because I've been in all sorts of storms and they've never given me any trouble. They've never leaked. I get a little bit of condensation in the trousers. This has got vents, so I've never really had a problem with this. Got big vents up the back, and I think that helps it. The trousers sometimes give me a bit of condensation in the leg, but for £20, I mean, that's amazing. They're not massively light. They're not terribly heavy either. I think you probably get lighter if you spend more, but they're really good. For £20, I think that's pretty amazing. I take them with me. As I said, I haven't bothered pricing them up, because that's kind of your choice really. And then a stealth, because my hair isn't exactly stealthy, it's kind of a bit bright. So this isn't keep you warm necessarily, but I've got a balaclava that I put on, and what I like about that is that it pulls down, so you can eat, drink and whatever, and then you can pull it back up again, instead of having to sort of they usually got a hole, you usually just say yank and stretch the hole. This actually has a piece of material that's designed especially to open, That was from Wish. Can't remember how much it cost. Another thing I've had for donkey's years. Again, that's not a necessity. It's your call. Mine's just because I know this isn't exactly going to help me keep stealthy. Oh well, still on the outside pocket. I've got an empty pocket here. I don't have anything to put in it because this pack is more than big enough for everything I need. Backup stove. I've seen more than one video of people equipment failing, and for some reason it seems to be nearly always the stove for some way or another. Forgetting the lighter, it not working. Somebody bought a brand new canister, didn't test it, didn't work. So I bring a backup stove. It's one of these where you open it up and you put your pot on the top. There's the fuel tablets. You plop a fuel tablet in, stick it on top of them. Now I don't really like them because they don't have a way of controlling the flame. The flame's very weak, takes a long time. The slightest little bit of wind, and I've got a windshield in there, but slightest bit of wind and they become almost ineffective. But as a backup, it's the difference in the winter. It's the difference between having a warm meal and not. You know, because they will warm. They may not boil the water. They can boil the water, but in the wrong conditions, they may not boil your water, but they will give you a warm meal, which is quite important in the winter to keep having warm drinks and warm meals, and if nothing else, just for morale. That was from Preppers UK with the tablets, not those tablets. I've replaced them since, and that was £4.50 for the stove and the tablets. I've replaced the tablets since. They do have a sell by on them. They don't have it written on them, I don't think, but I know they do, because if you keep them long enough, because it is a backup and I don't use it all the time, just for fun sometimes maybe, but I don't use them all the time, so they do tend to sort of, I think it's drying out, and they're real pigs to light. So they do have, I don't know what it is, it's a long time, but I think I had them for like a year or so, and admittedly it was in the car, so it was getting hot as well, and they were almost impossible to dry, so I just bought some new ones. I think it's always good to have a backup, and if nothing else, if you see the weather's closing in and you've got a small tent and you can't get inside and cook inside, if you see the weather's closing in, it might be an idea to fire up that and your own stove and have a couple of things going, do your meal and the tea at the same time, and sort of get it all cooked and get inside your tent and eat it in before the rain comes in. Another little thing I bring is like a fire starter kit. A few years ago, this was in my stocking. Man glitter. It's wood shavings. This is paper, so it can be used to light. These are wood shavings, so they can be used to light. I put a little bit of tissue paper in there because obviously that goes up quicker as well. And a fire starter thing goes in there as well. So if the stove, I've got an igniter on my stove. If the igniter fails, I can still light it with that, which is better than a lighter, which some people bring, because lighters get wet or they leak or they can fail too. These things can't fail. You can lose them. That's about the only way you can not use them. They cannot fail, which is much more preferable. So a backup to just the igniter not working, good thing. So I like to bring that with me. I've priced it, but it's not a necessity. It's just something to keep me a bit of peace of mind. Toothbrush and toothpaste. As I said before, I don't bother pricing up toothpaste. You know where to get toothpaste from. The box was nicked out of the kitchen. Thanks, wife. I do like the toothbrush. I bought these years ago. I can't remember how much they cost, but I'm not going to price up a toothbrush. You can buy toothbrushes anywhere. A lot of people buy normal toothbrushes and cut them in half. I like this one because this is from Amazon. I do remember that. Pack of 3. You undo it, pull the toothbrush out, close it, and you've got reason I like it is not just the fact that it folds up, but the brush folds into the handle, therefore keeping it clean. And yeah, you don't want to take it out of your pocket and there's a big lump of fluff on it or something. It keeps it clean, which is more hygienic. I prefer that as well as it folding. That's the outside. So inside is a first aid kit. I think that's a must. I've said that, I've never ever used one ever. I've been camping my whole life, since I was 7. So I've amassed a lot of camping time, a lot of equipment, none of it usable for backpacking, but because it was just pull up at a campsite type camping. I've never ever used it. I've got a 7-year-old kid where they always get knocks and bumps and scrapes. I've still never ever used it, but you just know that if I don't bring it, this is going to be the day I use it. I need it. I can't tell you the price of that. They're all different prices. I've had that case for years and it's been replaced umpteen times when everything goes out of date. So that is not included in the total because it's like swings and roundabouts. You pay whatever you like. You can bring it, not bring it. You can pay a lot. You can just bring a few plasters. It's hard to tell you what you do and don't need in that respect. Sit mat. When you've got a one-man tent, it's probably a good idea no matter what your tent, but specifically when you've got a one-man tent, you cannot get inside the tent to put all your bedding out and everything out and unpack. You've got to kneel outside your tent and put it in. Now, if the ground's wet, you're going to have wet knees. And also, when you want to sit down, if you want to sit up, you can't sit up in my tent, so you need to sit up outside the tent, put your shoes on or whatever. A sit mat, brilliant. It was $6.99 from Amazon. I think you can get them slightly cheaper. Maybe, don't know. I didn't look too hard because that was a reasonable price, and some of the other ones were cheap. I didn't like the look of them for various reasons. I like the look of this one. I can't remember why. So yeah, and bring it in at the end of the night because if it rains, it gets soaking wet, and what's the point? And you can use it obviously for laying it down on a cold stone if you sit on a stone while you're out, and obviously very useful. Virtually no weight. You can see it doesn't really take up much space, and it's light as a feather. That's too big. This is for car camping, so it's for car camping. So I don't need to worry about weight and stuff like that. So I always just get the biggest one I can. It's for a different stove that I've got in the car. So I just put that in there because it's at the moment it's the only one I've got. For backpacking, I shall buy the smallest one I can get away with to keep the weight down and to keep the space down. Although, as I said, I've got quite a bit of space. So I will be buying one of these for the car camping, and I'll be buying the smaller ones for backpacking. As I say, it's only one night, so you don't need to worry about bringing too much. Bottle of water. I want to test all this out in the garden before I go anywhere. I'll put that in there. I'd like to reduce that. As I said, I'd like to get a backpack, a bum bag that has a bottle on it, and then it means I can reduce what I put inside the pack as well. I've just done that because I don't know. I know roughly how much I used in the car camping, but in the car camping, I don't care about weight and size, so I just bring loads of water, more than I need, so I can proper pour it into a bowl. If you watch my car camping videos, I pour it into a washing up bowl and I actually wash up properly. So I always bring too much, so I've got an inkling of how much I'm going to need, but I don't know, I can't bring it down to an exact amount. So I'd like to camp in the garden and reduce the amount of that, so I will be having to carry my own water. This is a necessity. I'll price it up for you, and I have added it to the end title by accident. I couldn't be bothered to take it off again. The end amount I'm going to give you. I just put it on there without thinking. Not a necessity. I really feel I need it. It's a seat. It's very light. That's it for unfolding it. No complicated putting this pipe in and that pipe in and putting the bag over the top that other people seem to be doing on those ones. It's just, that's the size of it. It's very light. It opens up. Got a seat. The reason being is because if I sit on the floor for any length of time, my hips kill me. I think it's because I'm an old man. My hips kill me. it's alright for short time, but if I sit in there for any length of time, if I'm going to be sitting down cooking and eating, my hips kill me. And I found that being slightly elevated, so that my bottom isn't the same height as my feet, which brings my legs up. That's when it starts to hurt my hips. So I found that being slightly elevated, so my legs can drop down slightly lower than my bottom, it's less painful. Even after a long period of time, that starts to hurt, but it's much longer period of time. So that, for me, is a necessity, and I've accidentally added it to the price. I said I wouldn't do things that aren't necessary, but I did. So take that off. That was I might not have put it on. Oh yeah, $13.99 from Amazon. That was actually a gift. And I know how much it is, even though I got it for Christmas. I know how much it is because that's what I specifically asked for. Windshield, in case I need to use the backup, or just yeah, if it's a particularly windy day, I will be cooking outside because the tent's quite small. Can't do it inside. I thought that is kind of a necessity if you have to cook outside, because even the smallest of wind makes any stove much less effective. I won't get it out. You'll see it on later videos. That's the make. M&S, Marks and Spencer's. No, it wasn't Marks and Spencer's, but oh, it's H&S. Beg your pardon. The windshield is $8.99 from Amazon. Now this is probably a bit of equipment that I would like to upgrade when I get the money to upgrade something. That's probably what I want to upgrade. It's I don't know how you pronounce that. It's a sleeping pad. It was 20 quid when I bought it. You can't buy them now because my daughter wanted one, and they have poppers on the side. So I thought if I buy the same one, I can popper them together, which would be useful because I like to take her camping in the summer. We looked and scoured Amazon. I know I got it from Amazon. We scoured Amazon, then we scoured for this name. We couldn't find it anywhere. It was 20 quid. When we went to buy a new one for my daughter, 24 was the best we could get. We were trying to mimic this one because the one we bought had poppers as well. But they didn't match up, so it's still useless. But so I know for a fact that 24 was the cheapest we could get it from. It works. If you make sure you've got fully inflated. It's a bit scary filling up stuff fully, but it does work. But you make sure you do have to fully inflate it for it to work. I imagine its heating properties, warming properties aren't great because it is thin. I've got the foil mat in a minute, which I'll show you in a minute, to try and compensate for that. I imagine that's not particularly good, but it is comfortable. I'm a side sleeper and it does work. It's got a built-in pump, which is handy, so I don't like blowing things up and getting mould inside them. And it has a pillow, so I don't need to pull a pillow out and show you because it has a pillow. So that's quite handy. But having said that, I would go for the more expensive ones that are thicker, warmer, and probably more uncomfortable. Never slept on them. I'm just assuming they will be. Everyone seems to rave about them. So that is something I will upgrade, but it does work. That brings me to that foil mat. It was under a £5 from Amazon. You'll have to add that to the total. That's one of the things I forgot to add on there. I know it was under a £5 from Amazon. I'd be interested to know if anyone knows because that wasn't even a £5. If you spend a lot, because I know you can spend a lot more on those mats. If you spend a lot more, are their warming properties better, or is just foil? It doesn't matter if it's cheap or expensive; they all do the same job. Be interested to know if you can drop a comment below. I'd be interested to know: is an expensive foil mat warmer than a cheap one? Because as far as I can tell, they're all just foil. So isn't just foil? Don't know. Right, down to the food. This is probably going to be controversial because I'm staying for one night, as I said. So I have a meal for the evening and a breakfast when I leave. Don't always have the breakfast because you have to get up early to leave. Sometimes I'm not in the mood, but I bring them so they're there. That one's an all-day breakfast. That's my breakfast in the morning. That one's the same actually because I couldn't find another can. Usually I bring a curry or I quite like the old meatballs in tomato sauce or gravy or I don't know, something like that. just to warm it up on the stove. That do me. And I haven't got them here, but I usually bring little packets of peanuts or something to as a little snack. Now, yes, they're heavy. Yes, they're bulky, but they fit in there, and I've still got loads of space. But you know, these are just over £1-ish. One of those hydro meals made specially for camping. Yes, they're amazing. They're light, they're thin, but they're also like 15, 20, 25 pounds a pop. So I can kind of buy sort of 20 odd of those for the price of one meal. You know, at the moment, you know what? I'll carry the extra weight. And I question whether it is actually much heavier, because an unhydrated meal is, you have to bring extra water to hydrate it. Well, when I experiment and see how, bring the bare minimum, I'll probably arguably be able to bring less water because I don't have to hydrate my meals. So that's lighter, isn't it? So yeah, is that lighter? You know, are these really particularly heavy? Because the Thames themselves don't weigh virtually nothing. I question whether it is actually heavier or not, because people keep saying, buy this packet, buy that packet. Get them cheap budget from the supermarkets. You don't have to buy the expensive ones. And that's true, but you're having to bring extra water to hydrate them. I don't with those. Is it heavier? I've not actually experimented, but it kind of seems like it sort of balances out to me. Probably that's going to start a lot of controversy, but that's what I'm thinking. Cook set. This cook set is amazing because I have loads of cook sets for camping, but they're all massively bulky. And this little beauty, I will be showing it on later dates, has a saucepan and a pot. I use the pot for it as my kettle because the saucepan actually holds a whole tin of whatever. It looks small, but it actually is quite big. And inside it is a cup, knife, fork and spoon, all foldable, a tiny little stove. It's like matchbox size. It's amazing. And that is about it. It did have a sponge with it, which I lost. I think I used it in the house. I left it out and thought, oh, that's handy. And then I thought, oh, now I haven't got a sponge. So, and it has a little stand as well for you to stabilise your stove. So all of that fits into there, and that allowed me to get rid of knives, forks, a smaller stove, pots and pans. That was a real game changer. It really emptied out my bag. That was £20 off Amazon. It was or was it £21? I don't actually see it in. Not sure if I added this to it or not, because I don't actually see it on the list. There, I told you I'd miss stuff off. I don't think I've added this to the list. It was £20. It was like 1990 something. It doesn't look like I added the list. So I had £19. I had £20 to the total. And that's, you know, all that stuff in that little thingy. Marvellous. That's it for the inside. There's only one thing left. And that in the bottom pocket is the thing that was kind of stopping me from camping from the winter, actually, because I was pretty much there and it was just one thing. I could have gone in summer. One thing that stopped me from the camping in the winter, and it's something you can't skimp on, in my opinion, is a sleeping bag. All that sleeping bag fit in that tiny little bag, tiny little pocket. It's amazing. So that sleeping bag was £119. They're going for fluctuating, because it took me a long time to save for it, and I was watching it while it was while the price was fluctuating. I was watching it going up and down. It was around 130, 135, 126 for one point. Now it stands at 140, 45, depending where you go. When I went on to Go Outdoors, it was you could use a code, and I got it for 119, which I've not been able to do before. So in a sense, by waiting, saved me money. It went right down to 119 pounds with this code that I use at Go Outdoors. I don't know if it's still available. I've not long done it, so I presume it is. So that is that I'm not going to bother showing it because it's just any old sleeping bag for the summer would do. Well, my summer sleeping bag was £10 from Asda. It was an end of the season sale, so I think it was a bit more than that normally, but it cost me £10, which I've added to there when I do the summer thing. So the bag, I must say that I've £6 from Go Outdoors. There's a little light to hang off of the tent. The tent's got quite a low, being a small tent, it's got quite a low hook, and I tried hanging one of my, I did already have a little lantern, hung it off there, kept smacking me in the face. So I bought this. Is much smaller, much more compact, so it's also much lighter and better for carrying, and it has a little doorbry there. You can put it on D-rings as well, which brings me to the next point. Is I had it on the strap of my rucksack. Reason being, again, if I turn up late, the rucksack when it's full sits up on its own, so I can stand it hanging off of there and put the light on, and it gives me another little extra light for seeing where I'm going. It also has a magnet on it, so that'd be useful for car camping for me in the summer, to be honest, so I can slap it on the side of the car when I'm cooking outside. And it came with batteries, so £6 for that, and I think that's pretty good. The bag, it is a Eurohike Nepal 65. The 65 I think equates to the litres because it's a 65 litre bag. They do an 85. I wonder whether to get that. Glad I got this because this is adequate, and I have a little bit of space in there if I need to go for longer periods. So I think the 65 is going to do it. Good quality bag. I think it's a good quality bag. I'm not sure. I can't compare it to really expensive bags because I've never had the money to buy one, but it seems a good quality bag. I know I have had experience with bags, even though I haven't gone backpacking per se. And it is a nice one. It's got an adjustable back on it. As I say, the quality don't seem too bad. There are other things I would like. I wouldn't mind a pocket. It's a huge space in the middle for a third pocket. It's got one either side. It doesn't have any pockets on the waistband either, which would have been nice. But I think you can buy some to go on there, possibly, because they're only little thin straps. So you could add to it, I suppose. But that's a nice one. I've tried it. It's comfortable. I've tried it with all the gear in it, and it's comfortable. That was £19. £35, I think, or £33 from Blacks. With a code, it reduced it to 19, which I thought was extremely reasonable. You can buy bags for 19, but you're talking the cheap ones from various Chinese sites perhaps, and I'm reading reviews on them, and they don't seem to hold up very well, whereas this one had really good reviews, and it does seem like a better. Eurohikers aren't a bad make. They're one of the lower end prices, but they do quite reasonably good stuff. And this bag, I can't see anything wrong with it. Time will tell, but that does a good job. It does a really good job. So the total price for a winter setup, as I say, that is probably just the difference between the bag, because I haven't included waterproofs or anything. So that's just the difference between the sleeping bag winter or sleeping bag summer. So you're talking a winter price of $282. If you go for the video, you will see the bits I've said I've included and not included, so it's your choice to add or take away. And the summer price is £173, which I think for equipment that is serious equipment for going away, going camping, and it not being Mickey Mouse equipment or toys, is a good setup. This is an honest setup. This is equipment I'm using. I'm not just showing you stuff so I can title my channel cheap budget setup. This is stuff I'm buying and I'm using it, and this is my equipment, and I'm going to go away with it, and I'm going to use it, and hopefully over a long period of time perhaps be able to upgrade this, upgrade that. But as it stands at the moment, that I have to stick with this setup because it's my money gone. This is all I have, and hopefully it'll do me well. I'm going to camp in the garden first because I want to test it. I haven't tested it all out. I've test stuff individually, but I haven't brought it all together to test it out and to see if it's all working and to find out if I've missed something or something's too much. As I said earlier, I also want to see how much, reduce my water to the absolute minimum, because I think 2 litres is probably too much, which will reduce the weight, and we'll see how it goes. So that's it. That's my setup. That's everything I've got. I'll sort of review various stuff, not all in one go, but as I use it, and to sort of show you how you get it on. It's better to review it once I've used it a few times anyway, to get a sense of what's working, what isn't, what I should perhaps improve on, and so on. So the next video is going to be in the garden. It's going to be a setup in the garden in a controlled environment, which is the sensible way to do it. I think everyone is doing something for the first time should try and do it in their garden or somewhere like that, because it's a controlled environment. If you really fail, you've only got to walk in your house. If something fails, you're at home. Personally, I think that's the way to do everything when you're doing something for the first time. I've got a fair amount of experience with camping, but still, for me, in the garden, that's where I'm going to do it. And that will be the next video. So thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing, because I'm a new channel and I need all the help I can get, and I do appreciate every single individual person that that subscribes and that watches. It's very valuable to me, so so please do that. I'll be much appreciated, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.